It is time to discuss Batman Arkham again, as in the reboot. And it's definitely shifted since the last time we made a video on this, and it's not obvious at first, but when you start connecting the dots, everything that's happening behind the scenes, starting to paint a much clearer picture than what we had a month or two ago. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. I read every single comment on every single video, and today we're going to go over everything new about Batman Arkham, the alleged, supposed, hoped-for reboot. So there's no teaser, there's no logo drop. It's none of the flashy stuff people usually wait for. It's a much quieter in the background type vibe. But this is the kind of movement you usually see when a company has already made a decision, and now they're lining up all the chess pieces before they show it to the public. Because, yes, on one hand, there have been more job listings. People have been pointing those out. But the real story isn't just that they exist. It's what's missing from those job listings. There's no real push towards live service this time. There's no heavy focus on multiplayer first design. There's no signs that they're trying to double down on what Suicide Squad was doing. And as a true fan of the Arkham series and a true non-fan of Suicide Squad, that makes me excited. I have a feeling that a lot of you in the comments are going to be excited as well. Now, what matters way more than it sounds is that there's a chance, if they stick with that direction, that this could be really good. Now, everything is pointing back towards what a lot of you, I know you want. I do too. Single-player, narrative-driven experiences with Batman. Again, it's not a design choice. It would be a full course correction. And when you combine that with the fact that Warner Brothers executives are now openly talking about Batman as one of their core pillars going forward, shocker, I know, starts to feel like this isn't another project in development. This would actually be them resetting one of their most important brands. So, when James Gunn comes into the conversation and starts talking about DC games aligning tonally with the new DCU, even if they're not directly connected story-wise, that just adds another layer to this. Because now it's not just about making a good Batman game. It's actually about making a version of Batman that fits into a much bigger picture. So when you start asking what kind of Batman we're going to get here, because we are going to get Batman, I promise you guys. It's not as simple as just picking between early career, prime Batman, or full-on Bat family. It actually feels more like they're trying to land somewhere in the middle. Kind of where Batman is already established enough to feel confident and dangerous, but not so far along that his world has completely been built out. That would give them room to grow things naturally. Instead of dropping Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, and everybody else on the table into the story all at once, they could introduce those characters over time. Over Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. They could let relationships build. They could actually make this feel like a living world instead of something that's already finished when you step into it. And that also leads directly into the villain conversation for the next Batman Arkham game, because you have to get it right. You can't open this reboot with Joker. You can't. It can't happen. I know that sounds weird to say, but you can't do it. It's not even about whether Joker's a good villain or not. It's about the identity here. It's the first thing you see. Well, if the first thing you see in a rebooted Batman is Joker, you're going to feel like you're back in Arkham. And that is going to defeat the whole purpose of rebooting, of starting over. So when you look at what fits in a new direction that they're hinting at, it would be something more dark, or darker, more grounded, more visceral, more gritty, more focused on detective work. And I know as soon as I say that, a lot of you are going to be nodding your heads in agreement. Batman and detective work. It's the same as Spider-Man and ground level, just neighborhood Spider-Man and not cosmic. So, what comes up? Well, when you think detective work, the Court of Owls always comes up. And it comes up for a reason. But I mean, it's what makes it really interesting. It's not necessarily the villain. It's what does it do for the structure of the game, right? Now you're not just chasing a criminal or stopping a single threat. You're trying to uncover something bigger. You're digging into Gotham itself, trying to figure out who's actually in control of the Court of Owls. And that changes how everything can play out. It makes the story feel more layered. It gives the gameplay more purpose than just moving from one fight to the next. And I know some of you are going to say in the comments, the Court of Owls has been played out. We don't want it. Everybody's talked about it. We don't want it. But has it been done in the dark, kind of brooding sense yet? The scary sense, almost dare I say, a horror vibe sense. And that's what's been hinted more recently. Sounds like they're thinking long-term with this from the start. Not just making one game and seeing how it goes, but actually planning on multiple entries for a rebooted Batman Arkham series ahead of time, so the story can build properly instead of being stitched together later, which, let's face it, that's happened. That's a big deal, because it means this reboot isn't just about recovering from what happened with the Suicide Squad. It's actually going to be about setting up the next version of Batman in gaming for the next several years or the next decade or so. So this is probably where you're going to feel the biggest difference. The tone. Arkham Knight? Come on. It ended on a massive scale. Can we all agree? Everything happening at once. And it worked for what the game was trying to do, if you ask me. But you can tell from everything being said now that they want to bring things back into smaller environments, more tension, more focus on the atmosphere. Things are more claustrophobic, if you will. And honestly, I think that's where Batman shines. That's where Batman has always been his best. When it feels personal, when it feels like you're in it, not just watching chaos unfold around you. If they can recreate that Arkham Asylum feeling, whew, with modern technology and a deeper system, that alone, I think, could carry this entire experience. And then combat, I mean, combat's another area where things might shift more than people actually expect. The Arkham system, it worked. But it's been around for a long time. And there's been talk about making it feel heavier or more grounded, less about chaining perfect counters and more about actual impact and positioning, which I'm okay with that. Quality of life upgrades are a good thing. Just don't take away the foundational aspects. If they could commit to that, I think it could change the rhythm of the game completely. It could slow things down just enough to make every fight feel a little more intentional, a little more real, instead of just flowing through enemies the same way every time. And traversal is kind of in that same category. I mean, you had the glide and the grapple system, right? Iconic. It's not going to go anywhere. It's Batman. But you can tell they're being careful about how much they add on top of that. The Batmobile situation in Arkham Knight is probably the biggest lesson we could take away here. It wasn't that it was bad. It just became too much of the experience, if you ask me. And everything now suggests they don't want to repeat that. If vehicles are there, which they may, they'll be there because they make sense. They're not going to be there because the game forces you to use them. When you step back into the timeline of all this that is being rumored and talked about, I think it's pretty clear we're probably a little ways out. I mean, if this shift really happened internally around late 2024 or 2025, which is what insiders are reporting, we're in for a long development cycle. I mean, maybe a teaser sooner than people would expect, but realistically, I think this feels like something that lines up for around probably the end of 2027, probably more realistically 2028. And I mean, that actually lines up with a video we're doing over on the Cinema channel about the Brave and the Bold movie, which is expected to land in 2028 too. So what if these two line up together? I mean, James Gunn has already said they could be connected in some way, right? I mean, I think that's strategy, because if they time it right, you're launching a new Batman on the big screen. You're launching a new Batman in gaming, a reboot at the same time, both sharing a similar tone and direction probably, even if they're not directly connected. That's how you reset a brand that's so iconic in a way that it can actually stick. And then there's the Arkham name, which is a conversation. It's all its own. You let me know. There's been talk about dropping it completely. And honestly, I get it. Makes me sad, though. Arkham carries a lot of weight, both good and bad now. And if the goal is to make this feel like a fresh start, I mean, the cleanest way to do that is just calling it Batman. You let the game define itself from there and see what happens. I mean, when you're really looking at everything that's happening here, I don't think this is another reboot. I think this is a full-on reset of what Batman games are supposed to be going forward. New direction, new tone, new structure, but still built on what made those original games work. If they follow through on this, if they can commit to single-player strong storytelling and more grounded experiences, there's a chance. There's a chance this doesn't just bring Batman back to where it was. It could put Batman right back on top. So I want to know where you guys land on this. Do you want them to go all in, like something like the Court of Owls, really lean to that detective side, or do you want a more multiple villain aspect? Do you agree with me? Joker doesn't need to even be in the scenario at all for at least the first two? Let me know. Eventually, sure, but he doesn't need to be there out of the gate. If we get any new news, I'll drop it.